because of them, I have to make a choice. Do I want to be religious or not? That's tremendous anxiety for a kid. Parents shouldn't expose the child to the argument or to the fight. My parents got divorced when I was 3 years old. It was a natural process. I don't think I really realized at the time. My father was away, my mother met someone else. I always kept in touch with my father, so there was no trauma or moment of fear. My father used to travel because he was an actor. I usually didn't see my father for a few months at a time, but I personally don't recall having that feeling of, distancing or abandonment. When I moved with my father, which was when I was one time 13 years old and one time 16 years old, that was a difficult separation that I was resistant. I remember being sad or even maybe crying because I was going to be separated from my mother. So I realized that I had a unique opportunity because my parents got divorced. I had the ability to have a more focused relationship, which sometimes doesn't really happen when you have both parents and they're both there and busy with their life. And because it's one family, you don't really get too personal. They had divorced, understanding the life of each one, and trying to create a type of complicity that transcends the family structure. In many ways, I felt that there was something to be gained from the divorce. Not everything was negative. There was that positive part where I believe I was able to get to a level of closeness with my parents and of knowing my parents in a way that I couldn't have achieved if my parents were still together. So the ways I was able to connect on a deeper level, I think it was with the more inner life of each one, meaning their career, their dreams and the goals were in life, and even their personality. So that's something that became more clear, more developed. There were some times where, in a way, I was trying to understand what their life was, but it went a little bit too deep. There's a good boundary that needs to be built in order to not go too deep and become the therapist of your parents or something like that. I think overall, in terms of gain and loss, I gained more than, it's not a loss, but it was more positive than negative. I think it's better for a child to have the ability to choose for himself to a certain degree. I think the child needs to know what both sides are. The main worry of parents is that the child should be happy in life before anything else. There were times when my parents were fighting about religion. I think, first of all, anytime parents fight, as a kid, it makes you uncomfortable. You don't know which side to pick. You don't know, you love your mother or you love your father, or you love both, and now you are scared that you're going to lose one side just because of their problems. Right now, I'm stuck in the middle and I'm being torn apart in a way, as if I have now, because of them, I have to make a choice. Do I want to be religious or not? That's tremendous anxiety for a kid. Parents shouldn't expose the child to the argument or to the fight. I recall a few times where perhaps my father was putting a lot of pressure on me. I know you should really do your bar mitzvah, or really do certain religious things, really come to the synagogue. If the religion defines the degree of love that your parents are going to have for you, that's completely destructive. That's a killer, and most kids who feel that the love of the parents is depending on how religious he is, that usually is going to backfire at some point, and the kid is going to throw everything away. There are parents who are both, home, but the kids has no attention from them. So the fact that both parents demanded me, right? They want to spend time with me, were looking forward to see me, created a sense of I'm loved from both sides. And even though the love has been broken on a physical level in terms of family structure, on an emotional level, the love always stayed very strong. Stepfather can be a bit destabilizing for kids. For me, it was a bit ups and downs. Okay, he's like a father figure, but he's not my father. And usually the stepfather takes the side of the mother if there's any issue against the father. I can recall clearly moments where there were some rivalry, or, I'm the father, I decide what's good for my son, as opposed to, yeah, but he lives with us and, he's the mom. And I think that can only work if, the relationship with the parent is safe and strong. Also, my father got remarried, and my stepmother became almost like, I used to call her my second mother. She was a perfect stepmother, I would say. I felt always very safe and comfortable and loved, so I was accepted completely as if it was a regular family. So I had like two families now, it's like almost two sets of parents, and I think I gained more from the diversity and from the knowledge exploration than if it was all in the same city or town. My mother lived in France and my father lived in Germany. So in order to travel, I had to take 2, sometimes 3 trains, and sometimes 2 trains and a bus. At the beginning, when I was very young, it was just the train. My father picked me up just at the train station. But it took about, at the beginning, sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours of travel. So the travel was long, but for me it was enjoyable. I love to travel. The differences and the problems and the personality of their parents, taking the good and pushing away whatever is bad, or bad character traits or personality traits. The road of being with my mother, I had that road already, so it was a risk that in my case was great. I don't think it worked, and because I had the great stepmother and siblings, so it worked out great. But I think it's a risk that detaching the son from or daughter from her mother, I think it's more challenging than the other way. It was I remember that sad moment, crying on her shoulders. I didn't know what to do, but I kept on going. So the advice I would give myself if I was 12 at the time, I would say, don't be afraid to explore. You're not losing your mother. You're not, losing that world that you're familiar with. Take the risk to explore. You might gain from it. It's an opportunity also to get to know your father in a way that you will know otherwise if you didn't take that leap of faith. There's no marriage where you're gonna have a great relationship if you don't constantly work at it. To have a good marriage, you need to and prevent a divorce. Go to therapy, go read books on marriage, learn about how man works, how woman works, understand the world we live in and how men and women are portrayed. Now I actually have excellent relationship with my parents, both sides. I'm very close to my father, I'm very close to my mother. I have learned to create the balance between religious and secular world in a way that I can be with my father and my mother without judgment, with a complete understanding. My mother is a bit more spiritual than she was, but she's not religious, at least according to the system, because my parents saw that it was my choice and I was balanced and I was respecting both sides. Then the love never stopped and the relationship has always been very, very healthy.